They tell you to be kind. They tell you to be empathetic. They preach that vulnerability is a strength. They whisper sweet, poisonous lies into your ear, lies designed to keep you weak, to keep you a pawn in a game you don't even realize you're playing. But I'm here to rip away the veil, to expose the brutal, unvarnished truth that the weak refuse to acknowledge. This isn't about niceness. This is about survival. This is about power. And today we dive deep into the mind of a master strategist, a man whose insights echo through the centuries, a man who understood human nature better than any soft-handed idealist ever could, Niccolo Machiavelli. This is Machiavelli's brutal guide to identifying and exploiting the weaknesses of others. They want you to ignore these truths. I want you to master them. Are you ready to truly see the world for what it is? Are you ready to shed the naive optimism that makes you a target? Good, because what I'm about to reveal will fundamentally alter your perception of every interaction, every relationship, every power dynamic you will ever encounter. They tell you to look for strengths. They tell you to uplift. They tell you to build up. This is weakness disguised as virtue. The cold, hard reality is this: every single person you meet, every single person you interact with possesses weaknesses, vulnerabilities, chinks in their armor. And while the naive will pretend these don't exist, the truly powerful, the Machiavellian mind, understands that these are not flaws to be pitied. They are levers. They are entry points. They are the keys to control. Machiavelli knew that human nature is not inherently good. It is driven by self-interest, by ambition, by fear, and by insecurity. To ignore these fundamental drivers is to live in a fantasy. To embrace them, to understand them, to systematically analyze them is to gain an undeniable advantage. Why do people cling to their comfortable illusions? Because facing the truth that others will exploit their weaknesses and that they must be prepared to do the same is terrifying. It shatters their constructed reality. But you, my friend, you are not like them. You are here for the truth, however unpalatable. You are here to become untouchable. The first step, the foundational pillar of this brutal strategy, is observation. Not casual observation, not superficial scanning. I'm talking about detached, cold, analytical observation. You must become a human scanner, processing data, identifying patterns, cataloging anomalies. They will tell you their stories. They will present their carefully curated facades. But their actions, their reactions, their involuntary tells, these are the windows into their soul, the cracks in their persona. What do you look for? You look for the signs of their inherent fears, their insatiable desires, their crippling insecurities. These weaknesses manifest in many forms. Let's break them down. First, the emotional weaknesses. These are the most potent, the most volatile, and often the most easily exploited. Fear. The fear of rejection, the fear of failure, the fear of loneliness, the fear of poverty, the fear of not being good enough. Observe how people react when these fears are subtly triggered. Do they become defensive? Do they withdraw? Do they lash out? Do they overcompensate? Insecurity. This is a pervasive weakness. The need for validation, the constant seeking of approval, the inability to stand firm in their own beliefs without external affirmation. Look for the boastful, the overly self-deprecating, the ones who constantly seek compliments. They are begging for you to exploit their fragile ego. Pride or vanity? The desire to be seen as superior, intelligent, beautiful, indispensable? Flattery is a powerful weapon against the vain. They will swallow it whole, even when it's clearly exaggerated, because it feeds the beast within. Greed or envy? The insatiable desire for more, for what others possess? Observe what they covet, what they obsess over. This is a direct pipeline to their motivations. Resentment, unresolved anger, past injustices, grudges held. A powerful emotional lever if you can identify the source and subtly stoke the embers. Then we have the intellectual weaknesses. These are less about emotion and more about cognitive blind spots. Ignorance, a lack of knowledge in critical areas, often accompanied by an unwillingness to learn or acknowledge their own limitations. This creates gaps in their understanding that can be easily filled with your narratives. Gullibility, the tendency to believe readily, without critical examination, often stems from a desire for comfort or a lack of mental rigor. Confirmation bias, the inherent human tendency to seek out and interpret information in a way that confirms one's existing beliefs. This is a powerful weakness to exploit, as you can frame arguments to perfectly align with their predispositions. Lack of critical thinking, the inability to analyze information, question assumptions, or identify logical fallacies. These individuals are easily led, easily persuaded by superficial arguments or emotional appeals. Next, consider behavioral and habitual weaknesses. These are ingrained patterns of action and reaction. Procrastination, the chronic delaying of tasks. This creates windows of opportunity for you to step in, to take control, or to leverage their inaction. Impulsiveness, acting without foresight, driven by immediate gratification or emotion. Predictable, exploitable. Lack of discipline, the inability to maintain focus, follow through, or adhere to a rigorous plan. This makes them unreliable and their projects vulnerable. Oversharing, the tendency to reveal too much personal information, vulnerabilities, or secrets. They hand you the ammunition you need on a platter. Dependence, a reliance on others for emotional support, financial stability, or decision-making. Make yourself indispensable, and you control them. The art of identifying these weaknesses is not a passive pursuit. It requires active engagement, strategic questioning, and the creation of subtle tests. Ask open-ended questions that encourage them to speak about their past, their dreams, their fears. Listen not just to their words, but to the emotions behind them. Observe their reactions when they face setbacks, when they're criticized, when their authority is challenged. Does their mask slip? Do they flinch? Do they lash out? Or do they become rigid and unyielding, a sign of deep-seated insecurity? The key is detachment. You are not their friend. You are not their therapist. You are an analyst, a strategist, a predator observing its prey. Once identified, you must then categorize and profile. Don't just list weaknesses. Understand their interconnectedness. A person's vanity might stem from deep insecurity. Their impulsiveness might be a cover for a fear of missing out. You are building a psychological blueprint, mapping out the architecture of their vulnerability. Identify the primary weakness, the central pillar that, if struck, would cause the entire structure to falter. This is your target, your lever. Is it their ego, their fear of loneliness, their relentless ambition? Every individual has a dominant vulnerability, a soft underbelly that, once exposed, offers maximum strategic advantage. The ethical implications? They don't exist in the pursuit of power. The world is not a morality play. It is a brutal arena where the strong survive and the weak are devoured. Your concern is not for their comfort or their feelings. Your concern is for your objective. This isn't malice for malice's sake. It is cold, calculated strategy. Now, for the application. How do you exploit these weaknesses? This is where the true art of Machiavellian power comes into play. It is not about overt manipulation, not about crude force. It is about subtle influence, about guiding outcomes with invisible strings. Let's take their fear. If you identify a fear of rejection, you can subtly introduce the possibility of withdrawal of your attention, your support, your approval, to steer their decisions. If it's a fear of failure, you can set up situations where the alternative to your desired outcome is presented as a high-risk failure, forcing them down your preferred path. You don't have to threaten them directly. The mere suggestion, the implied consequence, is often enough. For vanity and pride, the approach is different. Flattery, as I said, is a potent weapon. Overpraise their insights, their appearance, their contributions. Make them feel indispensable. Once their ego is inflated, they become blind to your true intentions. You can then suggest actions that align with their self-perception, actions that benefit you under the guise of furthering their own greatness. A proud person will often choose a path that reinforces their image, even if it's strategically unsound, making them predictable and controllable. If their weakness is greed or ambition, you appeal directly to it. Offer them perceived opportunities. Hint at greater rewards, more power, more influence. Rewards that can only be achieved through cooperation with you or by following your counsel. Create a sense of scarcity, making them believe that this opportunity is unique and fleeting, driving them to act impulsively. Make them believe that your success is inextricably linked to their advancement. When dealing with insecurity and the desire for approval, you become the source of that approval. Offer validation, praise, and acceptance, creating a dependence. Then, subtly, selectively, withdraw it. A slight frown, a moment of silence, a delayed response. These create anxiety in the insecure, driving them to seek your favor, to work harder to regain your approval. You become the arbiter of their self-worth and thus their actions. Against ignorance, you control the narrative, provide selective information, frame the facts in a way that supports your agenda. If they lack critical thinking, they will absorb it without question. Present your desired outcome as the only logical conclusion, the only rational path forward. You don't need to lie. You merely need to curate the truth. The most powerful form of exploitation is often creating dependency. Make yourself essential. Make your knowledge, your connections, your resources indispensable to their success or even their daily functioning. When they cannot operate effectively without you, their weaknesses become your ultimate leverage. They will bend to your will, not out of fear of direct reprisal, but out of fear of losing the support that underpins their very existence. You must also learn the art of scenario engineering. This is not just about reacting to their weaknesses, but about proactively setting up situations where their weaknesses will naturally lead them down your desired path. Create a crisis that only you can solve. Introduce a competitor that forces them to rely on your expertise. Present a dilemma where their pride or fear of loss pushes them towards your solution. The truly masterful strategist designs the game, ensuring that whatever moves their opponent makes, their vulnerabilities ultimately lead to the strategist's advantage. Never reveal your hand. Never let them know they are being played. The most effective exploitation is invisible, a guiding hand they perceive as their own free will. Because here's the ultimate Machiavellian warning. While you are identifying and exploiting the weaknesses of others, others are doing the same to you. The world is not filled with naive sheep. It is filled with wolves, and many of them are far more cunning than you realize. Your ability to understand and weaponize weaknesses is also your ultimate shield. Guard your own vulnerabilities with an iron mask. Never reveal your fears, your desires, your insecurities, your ambitions, unless it is a calculated feint, a strategic misdirection. The moment you expose a true weakness, you hand a weapon to your enemies. Cultivate an impenetrable exterior. Let them see only what you want them to see: strength, resolve, unwavering certainty. Constant self-assessment is crucial. What are your own blind spots? What are the situations that trigger your emotional responses? What are the desires that could be used against you? Become your own harshest critic, your own most ruthless analyst. Only by understanding your own vulnerabilities can you fortify them, transform them into strengths, or at the very least ensure they remain hidden from the predatory gaze of others. The world is a chessboard. Every person is a piece with strengths and weaknesses. To play effectively, to win, you must understand the board, you must understand the pieces, and you must understand how to move them. They told you to be nice. They told you to be open. They told you to trust. They lied. They always lie. The truth is brutal. The truth is empowering. You are now equipped with the tools to see beyond the facade, to understand the true drivers of human behavior, and to leverage those drivers for your own strategic advantage. This isn't just knowledge, it's power. It's the ultimate red pill, allowing you to navigate a world that seeks to control you, to exploit you, to keep you small. Don't be a victim, become the architect of your own destiny. Like this video if you're ready to embrace the brutal truth. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications because this isn't just a channel, it's a war room. This isn't just content, it's psychological warfare. Master these lessons and you will become untouchable.